Hey, welcome to Church Brand Guide. My name is Michael Persad. We're talking with Pastor Billy Register today of True Life Church. He's sharing his story of how True Life went from closing down, about to close the doors, to now purchasing a brand new facility in a great place in town and then renovating it and having their grand opening just a couple months ago. The church is far from closing down. Pastor Billy shares his story of how God took him from basically working nonstop, being addicted to substances, turning him into a pastor and leading the church that he leads right now, which is True Life Church. A great story, and that's the passion of Church Brand Guide. We love to bring you amazing stories of what God is doing through the local church. Our hope is to help you so that you can transform your church to cut through the noise and reach people in your community. We want to see you get see more people showing up to your church on a weekly basis, more life change taking place as a result of that, and more people wanting to contribute to the vision that God has given you. If you'd like to connect with Church Brand Guide, we love working with churches to help you create brands, websites, logos, those type of things. You can go to churchbrandguide.com and schedule a time to talk with me so we can figure out if we're a good fit. So I'd love to do that. Check that out at churchbrandguide.com. But right now, we're going to get into the story of Pastor Billy and True Life Church. I think you're going to enjoy the journey that he went through and the journey that we actually became a part of as we helped them walk through the branding process before they opened up their new facility. So let's jump into the story right now. All right, I'm here with Pastor Billy Register from True Life Church, and we went through a branding process a little while ago. Welcome, Pastor Billy, to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Michael.
All right, so let's learn a little bit about you and your journey. It's been so good to work with you guys and your team. I'd love to share a little bit about your journey. How do you get
Yeah.
to how did you get to True Life Church?
Well, there's a couple of things to that. First of all, it's been great working with you. It's just been a blessing. Sort of a twofold story. One is that, my personal journey is that I was called into ministry in my life at 17 years old. I thought that was going to be in Christian television, which is what I worked in for several years. And then I moved into more of the secular area of TV work and did that for many years. And that was my career in various areas. And I, as a result of that too, sort of found myself finding myself a little apart from the Lord and the relationship that I needed to have with Him. And that's a long story of my full testimony, but suffice it to say, I had gotten to a place where I had fallen so far that I had found myself in the throes of a serious addiction of alcohol and drugs. And it became a daily thing. And the long story short is that I was miraculously healed and delivered of that. And at that time, I decided that God, what you've done for me, I've tried to do it on my own. I couldn't. And when you did this for me, I'm going to spend the rest of my life serving you. I know you've called me. Lead me to what you want me to do. And then a few years after that, my father, who has been in ministry for 60 years, he was called to be a temporary pastor at a church, just on an interim to just preach on Sunday. And had about 10 or 12 people the first time he was there. And they were trying to close the church and sell the property. But until so, they wanted somebody just to be there for the people who had been attending there for all those years. And again, long story made shorter, that church began to grow and turned into what we had called for many years First Assembly of Clay County, and it was based in Fleming Island, Florida. And we were leasing a property, and we looked for a permanent home for many years, praying about it. And God opened an opportunity for us to find this property where we moved to. And because of its location and because of a new season of ministry, where again, there's some places that I could fill in more detail, but I was being led into being the successor to my father as the lead pastor of this church. He is still our founding pastor and is a spiritual father to this house. But I have I've been elected into the lead pastor role now, and it just coincided with, and we believe it's all God's timing, into this new building that we moved into. And we felt like as a church and as a leadership team that it was time to rebrand the name of our church. We're still in Assemblies of God Fellowship, and we always will be. I have no thoughts that we would ever necessarily change that. But we felt like a new name would be a better identity for our church. So we felt like a rebrand was in order. And then that, in terms of the journey to get to there, that's what we did. So we began to seek out some options there. And through a series of events that we believe, again, were God ordained, we were led to you and your company. And then we went through that process.
Yeah, it's been so good to meet your team and just walk through the process. It was so good on my end. I'd love to hear, I guess, from your perspective. Can you describe the branding process? How did that go for you?
Well, yeah, it was, we didn't know what to expect because it was something completely new to us. I've been involved in some business endeavors before. So I was in the business world, in the television industry, as I mentioned, and the broadcast industry. But yeah, it had some touches on some of those kind of things. But to rebrand a church, that's a whole different thing. So we wanted a professional guide and assistance to it. And so what happened was we met you, and I think the great thing was you had a tremendous discovery process. You spent several hours on the Zoom calls and things that we did to tell you about our story, our ministry, our future vision, what God really was speaking to us about doing in our community. And then that led through establishing some new targets for core values, and to sort of crystallize that into into something that we could speak and say very clearly, not only what our values were, but why we were there, and our ministry objectives. And so we walked through with you, leading us and guiding us through that process, a lot of that type of what I would call discovery of who we are, what the DNA of our church is, and then where we were going and what our future vision was. And so try to encapsulate that into everything. And then we had some ideas of names that we had already previously internally, before we came into the branding, had decided on. And so we were First Assembly of Clay County. That's here in Northeast Florida. And then through a rigorous process. You're talking about something that took us several months to get through all of the different name suggestions and things that we just wanted to make sure it was something that God was behind, and that it was going to be a good brand identity for our church, as well as representing a name of something that we really believed in our ministry. And we landed on True Life Church. So we are True Life Church. We're so, every day that we go through this now and we see this new logo and we see the merchandise and we see our collateral materials and all the things we're doing, we are just so pleased with the name that the Lord led us to. And we believe that he did. And so our belief in the name is like people several times now, it's not so much, but early on, well, why True Life Church? Well, we believe that Jesus is everything to us. He is the governing factor in all of our lives. And so we look at that as what he said. And he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Those are the words of Jesus. So we believe Jesus is truth. His very words, his very presence, his very life and ministry, his death, burial, and resurrection was all truth that we build our lives on. And then life, true life, Jesus is life. He said, I am the vine and you are the branches. Well, when you understand that, a branch is not going to live when it breaks off from the vine. Jesus is life. He's our life source. So we think that the meaning of our name is very powerful, and also what we believe and what we want to share with our community, that the way to live your best life, which is another term that we use around here, the way to live your best life, not to live a perfect life, not to live a life without problems and issues that we encounter here on this earth, but to live your best life. You can do that by finding and following Jesus. And that's what we believe True Life Church is about. So as we gave you that name, then we started through the process of branding, which was developing logo ideas and color schemes that represented all of that discovery that you and our team went through. And I feel like it just came out in the end representing in a graphical way, I'm talking about the logo now, those things. And then what you did, and I think this was as much as anything, you helped us in the area of signage. So we've got, and I'll send some pictures if people would like to get those that we could, share. But all of the signage and the for our walls and for our doors and the things that we were, trying to identify, and put the stamp of our brand with messaging on the inside of our facility, we did through your assistance as well. That's the name of our coffee shop, is called The Well. And we did a separate little sign for that and a place for that. And our kids ministry is our next gen ministry. And we call our kids ministry TLC Kids, True Life Church Kids. So we did a logo for that. And we've been able to extend that throughout our facility in a very, what I would call there's a strong continuity when you walk from one end of the building to the other, that the same brand is being displayed, yet in different places and maybe some different colors, but there's a real continuity to it all. And so we feel like that has been a real, what I would call benefit to this process of working with you. Is that we were not just led to the point of a logo, because, there's a lot of people that think a logo is a brand. A logo, and I've learned this more now. I knew this before, but I know it more even now. A logo is not a brand. A logo is the identifier of a brand. Our brand is what is True Life Church. And I think you want your logo and you want your signage and you want your collateral and printed materials and all of those things, your website, to reflect what your true brand is through the graphics and the elements that you have electronically. And that's another thing, just as a side note, that you did. You gave us a tremendous leg up on a website, developed it, showed us how to manage it and maintain it. And we've got the ability now with the people that we've trained to easily update things and keep things current. And when we've needed some questions and help along the way after the fact, you've been there to give us some direction and help and step in if you needed to actually do some of the work yourself, just to tweak it. And once it's set up the way we've got it, we're able to change content and things of that nature. And so we launched in this whole thing a brand new website too. So it wasn't just all of the logo and signage. And I mean, we did everything from new flags that are out by the road, A-frame signs of directional signs. We did a tent, that was out there in front of our facility, a 10 by 10 canopy tent. We did, of course, all the interior signage. We did window clings, or what we call window perfs, that are on our building that are just awesome, that talk about some of our values about experiencing God, find family, discover purpose, and make a difference. Those are the things that we landed on, and they're now on the windows of the outside of our church facility. So everybody that walks in sees those. But that was done with your design elements, bringing it in, staying consistent with the brand. And then you also gave us direction on vendors to order quality materials at a very affordable price, something that I've compared to other places. And we just have found tremendous value with that vendor selection that you gave us. So I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff, but it was an ongoing thing. We were working at this for several months, and it turned out we couldn't have asked for it to be any better.
Wow, that's great to hear. I just loved how you jumped in wholeheartedly with both feet on, with the process and kind of going through all the different things. It's not about changing, it's not about changing the church in any way. It's about enhancing the vision that God has given you so that more people can understand what that is. I'd love to hear, what has God been doing recently in the church? Like, you just moved into the building a few months ago. What's God doing?
October 31st, 2021 was our first service. Our dedication service was January 16th, where we dedicated the building. Of course, when we were building the building, we've got prayer requests, and we've got people that wrote with Sharpies on the studs of the doors and the walls and taped all kinds of prayer requests. So inside the walls of our church literally was a dedication, but we had a official service to launch that and to officially dedicate the building. And since then, God's been doing some amazing things. We were just talking about it today in our staff meeting. This last Sunday, we had, 3 different people come to know the Lord for the first time. And we have plugged them right into our discipleship track, our first steps, next step discipleship piece that then will lead them to a more in-depth discipleship. Our first steps is what we call it. First steps of next steps. And so we see people that have been coming to our church that never were before, that live near here, that have seen us, that saw us in the construction phase, They've come in and we've had, I'll just tell you 2 reports that I've been given by people just this week since Sunday. One is that this one person who had been looking for a church home, who had experienced some just dysfunctionality and never really able to find something that was comfortable, came, and she has said, and she has told everybody and announced it in our intercessory prayer meeting that she now attends when she can on Tuesdays. She said that this is the most loving experience that I've ever had anywhere, including her own family, that she thinks that we are her family, that she views us as people that are sincere and authentic, that she loves us like she loves her own children almost. I mean, and she's only been here a few weeks. I told everyone, if that is the reputation of our church, because of what God is doing, not because of anything we're doing, we're yielded to him and we're allowing him to use us, man, you couldn't think of anything as a better statement of your church, of how loving and accepting. And she needed that in her life. She needed that. That was something that she needed. She was missing the experience of having people love on her. And she found that here at True Life. There's been people who have been, we've had a family just this week who a young man got saved in our church before we moved here, but he's plugged in, been discipled. We've loved on this guy. His biggest prayer request through all of this, from the very time we met him, was that his wife, who he had been having difficult struggles with, would just come to church with him, would just give it a try, would just be something that and then he would bring his kids when he could, but they were having issues and they were having problems. And we prayed with him about this. It's been a constant thing. We've been encouraging him, and he has stayed faithful. He has really grown in the Lord. He was baptized. He's been in life groups. He's come to our men's groups, all of these things, and just really been doing the things that we've asked him to do. He started tithing. I mean, he just went in, man. He just is walking in obedience. Last week, he sent me a text on Wednesday and said, I wanted you to know first. My wife just sent me a text, says, I'm coming this week. And he said, at first, I wasn't sure what she meant. And I said, we're coming where this week? She goes, I'm coming to church this week. So this last Sunday, she came. And I'll tell you, because this is just, it's not anything that's anything confidential or anything. She sat down with him and she was a little bit, it's first time, in a church. And we have a very vibrant worship service and we get after it, and the Holy Spirit was really powerful in this particular last Sunday in a different and unique way. And it was something that I can only explain, that there was a sort of a wall built up, there, nothing negative, just something that was there that just new surroundings, uncomfortable. And there was a moment in the service that a lady that was sitting on the same row as she was sitting on the second row, sitting on the same row, but there's several seats in between, felt like the Lord said to her, walk over there and just tell her, something, I just need you to know that Jesus loves you. Now that's what she said. Just those simple words. Somebody walked down a few seats down next to this woman and said, and she was sitting there with her husband and one of her children. She and her other children were in our kids ministry. She just put her arm around and said, I just want you to know that Jesus loves you. And then when she did, she saw tears come into her eyes. And I'm about to just get just a breakdown. There was something that broke at that point in her life. And so we're working with her. And so I could go on, man. I don't have time here, but I could go on and tell you stories like that of people that are experiencing God, that are finding purpose, that are discovering their purpose and finding family. And they're going to find a way as they grow in the grace and knowledge of the Lord. They're going to find where they can make a difference in this world. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to lead people to find and follow Jesus as we experience life together. And it's happening now. And I think this process, people say, well, branding is marketing. That is put a professional, if you will, an appropriate representation of what we do when we're representing Jesus. We should do it excellent. We should not settle for anything less. We should do the very best we can to present excellence. And I think our community, when they see the things that we've done, know that we intend to, not extravagant. You won't go in our facility and think anything's extravagant. but you will see something that presents excellence. And I think that branding process has so much to do with that. And that's why I feel like it's so important for churches to embrace that.
Wow, that is so good. I love it. I love the stories. It just makes me like, I just feel like I'm a part of that, you know, the
You are a
story.
part of it. You are a part of it. I've told you, man, you need to tell me a date when you can come up here and get up here, and we'll put you up for the weekend and bring your family and come experience a church service or whatever. And I know that I don't put any pressure on you. I'm just saying that's an open invitation, man. Don't feel shy. Say, hey, remember when you said that? I want you to come. We do. I mean, because we do consider you are a vital part of what we did up here, man. It was and that's the cool thing about today in 2022 now, that this technology, even though we've never personally met, Michael, I feel like I know you because we spent so much time together. And on Zoom calls, we see each other. And so we know, each other's facial recognition, and we'll know each other by that, but also our little personalities and things that we do. And so we've gotten to know each other from that standpoint. But even though we've never met, we accomplished all of this in a very effective way without us ever having to meet face to face. So the opportunity for people to do this literally all over the world is available to them because of the technology that we have today.
So good. Oh man, yeah, you're on. I will find a way, and I'm gonna make it up there with my family. We want
Just
to
tell me
see.
when, if it's you or you
Yeah,
can bring your family or whatever, we'll host you for the weekend. We'd love you to see what you helped us do, and we'd like to honor you in that way. And just, because you are a part of it. You're a part of it as if you were an in-house graphic, or a brand consultant or a graphic designer or whatever, or web designer, because it was all of those things together. It was as if you were in here a part of our team. That's how I looked at it. You were and still are. It's different now because we've gotten some things already set up and established, but we certainly consider you a part of our family and all of that. But you were a part of our team as if you were an employee of the church, a staff member.
I love it, and I love that Cindy. Cindy's kind of the person that's
Yeah.
running with a lot of this.
Oh,
We did some
Cindy is
training.
like, man,
Yeah.
I just don't want to tell anybody her name because I don't want anybody to hire her away from us.
She's so good. Like she'll ask
It
me a
really
question
is.
about how do I do this on the website, and I'll give her a short little tip,
Yeah,
and then she's off. She's got
that's
it.
about it.
It's so good.
That's my experience with her too. She's highly gifted and very intelligent and capable and loves God, just loves the Lord. She's also co-leads a grief share group on Tuesday nights here at our church. And she's she's taking courses to become a Christian counselor. And so she's just she's a joy and a blessing.
Well, Pastor Billy, thank you so much for sharing. The hope is
Absolutely.
that we can inspire other church leaders to begin to understand what's possible. So thanks for sharing your story.
Absolutely. Well, I would just say that just in closing, let me just say that anyone that it might be listening to this, I would so strongly encourage you to take action on anything that the Lord's leading you to do. And I would completely and 100%. I'm sure there's a lot of folk out there that can do, good work, but I can 100% endorse Michael, the people that he has that I'm sure help him in the things that he does. But he's our point person, and he's just been. I don't have anything that I would add that we could have felt like could have gone better. I just feel like he was there for us. He was patient. That's a big thing in these things. He was patient. He was gracious. He was always responsive. He just did a really wonderful job. I think he's a guy that loves the Lord and wants to do this. Not only is it's a means by which he feeds his family, certainly, and he earned every dollar of our work. But I know that he loves the Lord and wants to help ministries and believes that is something that he's been gifted in, using that to help to build the kingdom. So I just fully endorse him as a choice, a solid choice. And I think you will get tremendous value for whatever investment level that you decide to work with Michael on. You'll receive the value that you deserve as a ministry.
Wow. Well, thank you, Pastor Billy. I really appreciate you and your team and everything we've done. I know we have some big plans for the future.
Yes,
You guys will
we will
keep
be
on going.
talking again.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really looking for it. How can people connect with you if they would like to connect with you?
Sure. Yeah, the easiest way, our website is findtruelife.com. That's findtruelife.com. That's our website. And so you can find us there. There's ways to connect with us. That's the easy way. True Life Church in Clay County, Florida. If you search for that, True Life Church, Clay County, Florida, will come up on anything. And then that you can find our website if you forgot. But it's findtruelife.com. There's a way there to connect with us in any way. My email, and I'll just give that, is pastorbilly@findtruelife.com. That's all one word, Pastor Billy, Billy, at findtruelife.com. And if there's anything I could help anyone out there with in terms of other information or things that could be of any assistance or help, we'd certainly be happy to do it and pay that spiritually forward, if you will, in the lives of others.
I love your heart. Thanks again for sharing all the insider information. I didn't know some of the stuff about your story, so I really appreciate you sharing even some of your
Sure.
journey to
Yeah, I
getting.
didn't even know I was going to say that, but one guy told me one time, he said, man, after I told him the story, he was in tears about, what God had done for me and how it all, and it's amazing. I'm all of it every day. But he said, and he said to me this one time, he was a football player for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he said, all I can tell you is tell that story to anybody that'll listen to it.
Mm.
And so I've tried to do that, even if it's a short version, just that God did a miracle in my life, and he's a miracle working God, and he is to be honored and trusted. And it is something that he's still doing today. It's not something that was a couple of thousand years ago. There are still miracles in our lives today.
Thanks for listening to this episode with Pastor Billy Register from True Life Church. We had such a great time working with him and his team. We are continuing to work with him, and it's been a great process to see the results taking place, to hear him talk about the momentum and the growth that's taking place. It's extremely rewarding. I am very passionate about the local church, and I know if you're listening to this podcast episode, you are as well. And my hope is that we can inspire you. We can give you some fresh insights to help you cut through the noise for your church. There's actually a web page attached to this website, to this podcast episode on our website. So if you go to churchbrandguide.com, you can go to that page for this episode, and you can see the logo design. You can see photos of the facility. You can see maybe some other links to help you with resources, even an image of the website that we created for Pastor Billy, so that you are inspired, so you can see what this starts to look like as we talk about some of the branding principles and then bring it to life as we serve churches. And that's what we do. We serve churches to create brands, to hear their vision, to hear their passion, and to create a reality, a visual reality, so other people can then see what that is and respond to it and decide that ultimately they want to contribute. Our goal is to help you move the needle. So as Church Brand Guide, as we work with churches, we want to help you move the needle. What that means is basically seeing more people showing up to the church on a regular basis, more life change taking place as a result of that, and more people deciding to contribute to the vision that God has given you because it's so clear and they understand the need for it and they want to contribute to be a part of that. Go to churchbrandguide.com, schedule a time with me if you want to walk through this process or at least learn more about our process so we can help your church. I can put together a package for you. A lot of these packages start at about $3,500. I guess that's a good starting point just to give you an idea of what that might look like. And then we have bigger packages to include more things as needed for your church. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like. Again, go to churchbrandguide.com, schedule a time. Let's have a conversation. That's the starting point of everything if you're looking to get some help with your church's brand. And again, that's like website, logos, facility, graphics, those type of things. That's what we do. Well, thanks again for joining us, and I want to thank Pastor Billy for sharing with us his story, and I hope it inspires you. We'll see you on the next episode.